Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're unpacking something that I know almost every single one of us chronically struggles with. I'm talking about putting things off. You totally know the feeling, right? You sit down to tackle this huge, important project, and suddenly, cleaning out your entire refrigerator feels like the most urgent task in the absolute world. Well, today we're going to set the stage for exploring the true why behind this behavior. And trust me, it goes way, way deeper than just being lazy.
Now, to really understand why we do this, why we put off what we know we absolutely must do, we kind of need to look back, because this is a timeless human condition. Picture this. It's the summer of 1830, and the famous French author Victor Hugo is facing an impossible book deadline. He'd spent a whole year just entertaining guests and, well, delaying his work. So what did he do? He literally had all of his clothes locked away so he couldn't leave his house, forcing himself to actually write. It's a hilarious historical anecdote for sure, but it proves that even the most prolific minds in history have desperately fought against their own urge to delay.
Okay, let's dive into this. There's this quote from 1751 by Samuel Johnson, and it perfectly captures the profound guilt and that intense self-awareness of delaying tasks. We dismiss the part of ourselves that knows we're supposed to act. We know we can't escape the work, right? Yet we continually postpone it. It's this exact habitual, repeated failure to act when we know better that makes procrastination feel so uniquely painful.
You know, ancient philosophers actually had a specific word for this agonizing state, akrasia. It's basically the state of acting against your better judgment. It's that exact moment you do one thing even though you know deep down you should be doing something else. And the word procrastination itself, that comes from the Latin procrastinere, which simply means to put off until tomorrow. I point all this out to normalize your struggle. Seriously, this isn't some modern failing of your character. It is a fundamental challenge that humans have been fighting for centuries.
Section 1, the time management myth. So, if it's been around forever, why are we so bad at fixing it? Well, we need to completely debunk the idea that procrastination is simply a sign of laziness or poor time management. Leading researcher Timothy Peisel has made this absolutely crucial core revelation. Procrastination is actually an emotional regulation problem. When we face a challenging, boring, or maybe just an ambiguous task, our brain experiences negative emotions. We're talking frustration, anxiety, or the fear of failure. So, to repair our mood in the short term and escape that discomfort, what do? We avoid the task. We delay it. It is literally an emotional safety trap where we trade long-term success for instant emotional relief.
Section 2. Your brain on procrastination.
To really grasp how this safety trap works, we got to look under the hood at the deep psychological and neurological factors at play. Think of your brain as a biological battleground. On one side, you've got the limbic system. This thing is ancient, it's impulse-prone, and it craves immediate emotional comfort. On the other side, you have the prefrontal cortex. That's the logical, planning center of your brain that handles executive function. When you're tired, stressed, or just totally overwhelmed by a task, these two systems clash. And almost always, the limbic system wins. Your brain senses anxiety around a task and shifts you towards something, honestly, anything that feels easier in the moment just to protect you.
And this brilliantly illustrates a phenomenon called temporal discounting. See, our brains are hardwired to value immediate rewards way more highly than future rewards. When you set a goal, you're making plans for future you. But when it's actually time to sit down and do the work, you're making choices for present you. And present you absolutely loves instant gratification. We discount those future benefits because the immediate discomfort of the task just feels way too heavy.
On top of that, we're fighting against our own cognitive biases. Two of the biggest culprits here are the planning fallacy and the effort heuristic. The planning fallacy is basically a trick our brain plays where we constantly underestimate the time a task will require. Meanwhile, the effort heuristic causes us to totally overestimate the effort required for unfamiliar work. We experience this intense task aversion. We think a blank page is going to be incredibly painful to fill, and that creates a terrifying barrier to even starting. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that we can actually completely reframe delay using the psychology of delay framework. By looking at our cognitive, affective, and temporal systems, we can see two distinct paths, because delay isn't always bad. If you're avoiding a task because of fear, yeah, that is maladaptive delay. But if you purposefully delay a task to engage in strategic prioritization, emotional readiness, or mindful time awareness, that is adaptive delay. It's all about shifting delay from dysfunctional avoidance to strategic reflection.
Section 3. The digital dopamine trap. Unfortunately, taking that adaptive path is harder than ever. Let's talk about how modern environments hijack our already vulnerable limbic systems.
Our digital environments are heavily structured around reward loops. Notifications, likes, infinite scrolling, these all stimulate the dopamine pathways in our brains. Remember how we said procrastination is an emotional regulation problem? Well, when you're stressed by a difficult task, clicking over to social media provides an instant dopamine hit. To your nervous system, scrolling feels incredibly safe and rewarding compared to the uncertainty and effort of deep work.
But this instant gratification comes at a massive cost to our cognitive function. Just consider the number 23. Research shows that each time we're interrupted by a digital notification, it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully regain focus and re-enter a state of flow. 23 minutes. If you're constantly checking your phone to soothe your anxiety about a project, you are actively compounding the difficulty of ever finishing it.
Section 4. Strategies for strategic action.
So how do we actually fix this? How do we move from the painful agitation of executive dysfunction to actually getting things done? Author James Clear offers a fantastic framework for beating acrosia. First, design your future actions using commitment devices, just like Victor Hugo locking up his clothes. Second, reduce the friction of starting. Being in the middle of the work is actually much less painful than the guilt of procrastinating. The friction is almost entirely in the starting phase. And third, utilize implementation intentions. Literally write down the exact time, date, and place you're going to do the work. Scheduling things ahead of time removes the in-the-moment decision of whether you should even start.
We also need to combat executive dysfunction directly. When a project is ambiguous, our brain just shuts down. So break overwhelming projects into microtasks. Sidestep decision paralysis by using the 2-minute rule. Basically, do the smallest possible step first. Completing a tiny task gives your brain a quick hit of dopamine, which actually kickstarts your motivation for the larger tasks. Finally, build heavily structured workflows. Minimizing decision points is absolutely the best way to get yourself into a productive flow state.
So the crucial point is that mapping the ambiguous into the actionable is a total game changer. To see this in action, just look at how modern AI tools are doing this for creators. Take Overseer OS, for example. It takes an overwhelming, ambiguous project, like turning a script into a full video, and forces a strict automated workflow. It takes a script and voiceover, automatically breaks them into scenes, generates visuals, and maps out the timeline. By turning an ambiguous, terrifying project into a structured, step-by-step workflow, it completely reduces the friction that causes creators to procrastinate in the first place.
Ultimately, procrastination becomes less about the task itself and way more about who you are becoming. I want to leave you with a thought rooted in Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You might be able to leave life now. Let that dictate what you think and say and do." Every single day you put off what is truly important, you are silently exchanging your potential and your meaning for temporary comfort. So ask yourself, what are you trading for your delay? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.